didn't see it, but we saw it go down here. Jaedong defeating Seppi in 3 games, and even Ghost User said this should be a really good match because Jaedong's been playing pretty amazing.
Yeah, his ZvT has been, it's either that or his ZvZ, but one of those 2 matchups have been his marquee matchup thus far in StarCraft 2. He's definitely turned some heads with just the raw results, but also it's his play style and his mechanics that really shine through here as well. I mean, it was just actually in, I want to say, Code A, where he, no, actually it was IPTL where he played Maru, excuse me, so I got that wrong. He played Maru on Daybreak. Now that, you know what, my perfectionist, is it Revival? No, it was Jaedong, okay, sorry. Got locked up there for a second, but on Daybreak, okay. Anyways, at minute 12, he had creep touching the base of the ramp at the natural, and it's just, it's unreal, and that's what we expected from these guys. When Flash, Jaedong, and Fantasy and some of these other players came over, the expectation was these are the guys that have giant poster boards all over, throughout Korea when Brood War is at its highest points. They filled stadiums. We expect a higher level that we have not seen, and that's what he offers. That's what he brings, and it really shines through in ZvT.
You know, let's actually talk about that just a little bit, because when I go back and I watch Brood War matches now, after having played and been experienced and with so much StarCraft 2, you forget sometimes, I think, well, I'm sure you don't, but like all of the little things that have to be done within the game.
Right.
And I wonder, with the quick transition over from Brood War to StarCraft 2, is finding and identifying those things, like you mentioned, the creep spread. Couldn't you equate to that to having to go back to your hatchery every time and tell that drone to to go back and start mining? Like those little tiny things where extra actions that can give you an advantage later on in the game. Like, do you think that there's any weight to that statement, or is that just kind of like a?
Well, I think we're definitely seeing your point being illuminated more so now than ever. Like I said, when StarCraft 2 first came out, the big concern with the stuff that was coming out from Blizzard was, well, auto mining, auto casting, a lot of things that we used to have to do was being done for us. So now we're kind of worried that the game's getting too easy. That was the mantra at the beginning stage, and to be honest with you, that mentality established the expectation, and then a lot of the Koreans that first transitioned over were the guys that couldn't get FaceTime on the TVs or the leagues. They were benched. They were in the houses grinding out ungodly hours because they were not the Flashes or Jaedongs. So it kind of lived up to that expectation at the beginning, because and to be, I guess it's weird to say this because people will take it the wrong way, I suppose, but the raw fact of the matter was they were not the showstoppers. People were not bowing down to them in the streets like they do for these big dogs that have come over now. So now in StarCraft 2, as we've grown, even without the Keswick guys, we learned, okay, this game is harder than we thought it was. It's not as hard as Brood War. No one's going to say that, but it's not too far off. It's not terribly, terribly far off. It's not like we're playing Legos and we used to be building skyscrapers.
Right. Well, and the other thing to say is that, true Brood War competition didn't actually come until Brood War was released, and a lot of, we talked a little bit about HOTS, and the fact that HOTS does add quite a bit to, to what can happen. And, even I hear a lot of the folks, specifically talking about how, those who excel in micro might actually have, some additional things to deploy in Hearts of the Swarm, because there's a lot of units that, will be very micro intensive. I don't know. It'll be a while before we figure all that out.
I believe HOTS gets harder. I'm really excited.
I think so too.
I'm excited at the idea of Jaedong with a Viper, Broodlord, Infester, Swarm host army.
Yeah.
And he's got the other, adornment as well. And those extra few components, I'll tell you what, that's where a lot of the Zergs right now that are really being successful with the fairly simplistic army control are going to fall behind, and the really good ones are going to rise further up to the top, because that army working in Perfect Symphony is going to be at a higher level than even what we've seen now. So I'm more excited for that, because then I look at Protoss. They have a whole bunch of new stuff too. The Tempest is not an A-move unit. It's a right-click specific fire unit, and if it's used that way, it becomes much more powerful, and it rewards the person that does that. And I like that kind of gameplay.
So let's actually talk about what we got going on now. Yesterday, the theme with PuMa was, how many drones can I kill with my Hellions? And we are going to see an opening where a few Marines get out, the Hellions starting. We do have the tech lab down on the racks. It's going to be switching over with the starport. But if if Jaedong was keeping a close eye on the games yesterday, he might know that this is something that PuMa might go heavy into. We saw Jaedong grab speed off the first 100 gas, lair off of the second, and now he's fully taken both the gases in his main and both of the gases here at the natural as well.
Yep.
Drone going over, absolutely. In fact, this is something we've been seeing this build sort of highlighted from Jaedong very recently. I've seen a couple of posts on Reddit where people have constructed the build order out, and I'm curious to see how this will do, especially versus a potentially Hellion heavy army again.
Well, it's interesting. There's a couple things going on right now. First and foremost, Jaedong does scout that third, but I think you actually hit the nail on the head when you said that Jaedong either knows PuMa because they train in exactly the same house, or he was watching the matches yesterday, excuse me. But the 2-hatch Spire is a hard counter to Hellion Banshee. The question here is, can you stop the Hellions from getting up in your base by being minimalistic? Because you'll notice there's no spine crawlers. There's there is a little bit of SimC. There's a single one building. There's some Lings, some Queens. But if this was that dedicated like 2-factory Blue Flame, there wouldn't be a single drone on this map at minute 9. But it's not. It's the more macro-based opening. So these Mutilas are looking to crack in and at least kill the Banshee, but probably do a lot more in that.
And Banshee is going to get a scout of the Spire, which will be important. Queen's not reacting quite yet. Banshee does not have Cloak, so it's not something he's going to have to be worried about. Now, let's check the vision real quick. He didn't actually scoot over close enough to see the Spire. Jaedong doesn't necessarily know that, but it is a very big deal. Meanwhile, a couple of Zerglings do get a nice run by here, right around the Hellions, into the main base. Don't think any, maybe a couple of SCVs were taken out, but obviously that's nothing that's going to have a massive impact on the game. More or less changing the positioning, but you got a good read on how many Hellions there are.
And you know what? This is such a minor thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it's actually bigger. Jaedong is swooping in with an Overseer into the middle of the natural and the main. And no, it's the other.
This guy.
Yeah. And the thing I like about this is that it scouts out the double engineering base, so it knows he's facing a bio build, of course. He actually hasn't peeked up into the main, which is something he has been doing in matches prior, but he is just constantly getting information. And that's such a big deal. It's something that's somehow has been de-emphasized from top competitive play in StarCraft 2, and it's a mainstay of Brood War, so it's nice to see that being brought over here and emphasized more. It's not like it doesn't happen, it's just that it should happen all the time, without question.
We do see Jaedong going in, most importantly getting those SCVs on the gas, but picking up an additional 4 kills there, I think actually 5, as he takes a couple out, minimizes the damage. I believe he did lose a single Muta as he had 6 coming out. Now does he continue on with the Muta? He is getting +1.
+1, but no more Mutas. He's got 600 gas, so it's not a question of, okay, well, there it is. He needed that one more Muta, you know, then it's the perfect number. I don't quite understand it. I think it'll definitely be the Ling, Baneling, Mutala style, but typically they stop at around 10 to 12, not 6 or 7. If I'm seeing 6 or 7, I really thought I would see a very fast infestation pit, because you're just, at a certain point, 6 or 7 Mutalas will not be the anchor you need to deliver that blow.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like Jaedong said, okay, well, I see the missile turrets down, there's enough Marines out to defend. Getting +2 armor and melee will actually be more beneficial. Also, the Baneling speed. So now he's back up to gas. Is he going to keep going? 30 Lings are on the way. Got the macro hatch coming out. No 4th base yet. And we do have the Mutas continuing to move in. Wow, they're going to get a couple of medevacs here, and that's actually surprising to me. 2 Mutas do go down, but at least 1 medevac falls as well. The Mutas now responding to the Hellions.
And you know what? It was just yesterday I recalled you asking about the style, the Ling, Baneling Mutala style. I really like it. Again, the weird question mark here is I understand having a light Mutala count. I know in Ages Old we saw Idra running around with like 35 Mutalas at some points. But like I said, you still want enough that they can actually handle a drop by themselves, or if they pop into a main, they're not like tickling a tech lab. They just pick it off in 2 or 3 volleys. So it's very interesting that he went this low. But you'll notice in the production tab there's still more Lings coming out, S2s coming. And this is a style that Violet won a lot of rounds with, and specifically on this map, because it's so hard to defend between the natural and the third. But you actually just make a crap ton of Banelings and Zerglings. The Mutalists are more of a fake than anything. They can help out with medevacs, but that's pretty much it. And then you just go after it. And right now PuMa's kind of muscling up to see. He's showing us that I think he knows that's what's coming, so he's going to probably deter that.
Fourth base trying to go up right now. Banshee is going to shut it down. We've also got some Lings gnawing on the back door over here. Well, the Mutas did take out a supply depot over here, trying to force those Marines back in, but PuMa's not really budging. He let that die, knew that his line was going to be protected with the amount of Mutas, but here you can see these guys are about to be +2, which makes a huge difference, and that might be the timing that Jaedong is waiting for here. In fact, he's going to be able to get these Marines. If he gets them, Jeff, that's going to be very bad. There's a pickup on a few of them, but he is going to need every single Marine that he can. He's only got 2 tanks up here. You can see he's trying to create a Baneling shield, if you will. Medevac.
Sacrificial lamb.
Exactly.
The Spartan baby put on the hill, man. It's too weak. You get out of here with your red health. Now, the positioning of PuMa shows that he knew it was coming, and he ain't going to allow it to happen. So, Jaedong, seeing that, can't possibly go for it. It would be absolute suicide to try. He's breaking down the rocks because he wants to backdoor this. I mean, a lot of those Lings, Banelings, if they get into the mineral line of that command center, it's all it takes. They'll go down. Oh, the hatchery does get sniped.
Wow.
That's costly. That's pretty costly there.
Yeah, that's
the fourth base.
That is. He had the opportunity to just kind of cancel and make the Banshee, not do all that damage, but he let it finish, and then, of course, the drop that was headed out over here just unloaded and went forth. But talk a little bit about that creep spread. You can see it's already almost touching that front door. There's the scan to try to eliminate that. PuMa absolutely does not want him to have that advantage going into it. Another good pickup as Jaedong's looking to fish out any units that he possibly can, but PuMa just too quick on that.
Well, the Muta's still on the board, actually. I saw them head towards the main. Did they just get sacked, or could maybe hit unit tab?
I can maybe hit that unit tab. No, there's still 8
8 of them even. I think he made a couple more, so...
Oh, they're there.
All right, they're there.
Just
making
chilling.
sure. So he's just going to guard the middle. You can see that infestor swell coming out. 7 of them. They do have the pathogen gland upgrade. Here's what the Mutas are used for.
Yeah.
You are not safe in that pickup, sir. You're gone. Burrow being upgraded as well as the fourth base. So the big question here is the fourth base, and you can see PuMa's dedicated to delaying or sniping, as we saw in the previous drop. And if you can keep a Zerg on 3 base while you're on 3 base, as time goes on, you're actually pulling ahead economically, as long as there's not something strange going on out in the game. And that's the PuMa game plan right now.
Oh, Jaedong almost going for it as he sees PuMa has moved up just a lit. PuMa moving forward, and no cancellation on that. Bailey's going to get a hit. And there he's going to get it, and we got the big engagement. Oh my God, the fungals on the Marines, and that's exactly what you need in order to be successful.